Hello everyone. Welcome to our MixPre live stream. My name is Laura Sillanpää. I work in the technical support department here at Sound Devices, and we're going to be talking all about the MixPre II Series today. If you look on the shelf behind me, we've got a couple of Sound Devices items listed up there, some 6 Series, 7 Series, and then we've got a MixPre 6, a MixPre 10, and a MixPre 3, all 2 series. So what we're going to start out with is this MixPre 3 2, brand new in the box, just to give you an idea of what does it look like when I buy a brand new MixPre 3 2. What are you going to get? So we're going to do a little live unboxing. So we've got a little overhead shot. Hopefully you can see me. I'm going to throw this off to the side. Okay. And these are available now on our website, if you're curious. So you open it up, you've got your little registration information. You can register your product online. As soon as you register your MixPre, you get a 2-year warranty on it. So make sure to register it. I'm going to pull this right out of there. In the box, we've got our accessories, including a USB-C to C cable. We've got a battery pack down in there, and then we've also got a wall adapter. All right, so let's close this up. Pass that along. Okay, here's our MixPre 3, brand new. So we open up these sides. A lot of people wonder, how do you open these things with this shrink wrap? Just open up the sides, and you can pull it right out. All right. So just taking a look at the unit, right on the front, we've got 3 knobs here. That's for MixPre 3, meaning we've got 3 isolated channels on this unit. We turn it to the left, we see we've got 2 XLR inputs here, a USB A port, USB-C port, stereo out, on switch. Let's flip it to the other side. We've got a little headphone encoder here with a grippy wheel for, tactile function. Headphone output, aux mic in input, and there's channel 3 right there. And then we've also got a mini or a micro HDMI connection for timecode from a camera. Flip this onto the back. This is our AA sled for taking sleds on and off. Oh, someone was using some batteries in here. This is the default sled that you get with the unit. You have a bunch of different other powering options, of course, with this as well. So that's our MixPre 3. Our demo today, I'm going to be doing through our MixPre 6. So let's slide on over to that one, and I'll show you what we got. All right. So I have some connections going on here. I'm going to explain the connections before we really get into anything. I've got a USB-C connection here. This is our power. This is just running out to a wall adapter. As I said, that comes in the box when you buy the unit. I've got a USB-A connection here. This is for a little keyboard. This is for metadata entry if I need to name things throughout this stream or show you some examples. I got a little keyboard just to help out. You can also connect MIDI controllers. As you can see above here, I've got a MIDI controller connected to this MixPre 10. That's how you can do, faders if you're doing like a live concert recording or something, or even you've got a little mini cart and you want to mix from your MixPre. We support a couple different MIDI controllers you can find listed on our website. So, and then I've got, you guessed it, a microphone connected. And this is just this boom mic right here. I've got it just running into channel 1 right here. That's the signal that you see here on screen. All right. So let's talk concepts a little bit. What do you do when you're using a MixPre on your film set and you get there early in the day? What are the steps that you have to take in order to set this sort of thing up? Well, the first thing you have to consider is, all right, what's the scene going to be like? What am I required to provide for production? What are they expecting? And how am I going to, fulfill that request with them? Most sets you're going to have a boom microphone. In this case, it's hardwired. You can see it running into channel 1. And you're going to have some wireless microphones. And then occasionally, maybe you'll have a plant mic here or there, like the one behind me. You can see in this pot. It may not be as obvious as that, though, I will say. In this scenario, what I have mapped this MixPre out to is having a boom mic on channel 1 And then channels 2 through 6 have lavaliers on them. And so with the MixPre series, we've got a couple different options for setting up our recorder. There are 3 modes available in the MixPre II series. There's basic mode, advanced mode, and custom mode. For this stream purpose, we're going to just be working in advanced mode. Basic mode's pretty simple. You turn on the machine, you plug in a microphone, you pot up, turn up your fader right here on these rotary knobs, and you're pretty much good to go. You might have to phantom power your mic, but that's it. Advanced mode, you can enable arming isolated tracks, meaning multi-track recording. You can record a bus. You can apply certain plugins such as Mix Assist or Noise Assist. And you have a lot more options in terms of routing out to USB outputs, routing out to the stereo output, and just entering metadata for your workflow. So we start at the input. We've got a microphone coming in. What does the MixPre II series offer? Well, you can come into the MixPre II series machines in a couple different ways. You saw earlier we've got these XLR inputs. On the MixPre III smallest version, we've just got 3 XLR inputs. On the 6 and the 10, we have these combo jacks. And so these allow you to have either an XLR or a 1/4-inch TRS cable connected. So for most applications, you're going to see XLRs and film sets. So in this one, I've got boom on 1, and then you could imagine I have my wireless in my bag connected into 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So on the 6, we've got 4 full-size XLR connectors, and then we have this aux mic input. This is a stereo input. This input is channels 5 and 6. How do you access that? Let's go into the menu. Go to inputs. We have a channel 5 screen and a channel 6 screen. So if I were running 5 lavs in addition to my boom here, and I needed to run the last 2 on channels 5 and 6, I'd go into the menu here, I'd go to aux in mode, and from there I can select how this port is going to interact with my machine. So if I make a connection here, let's say I have a stereo TRS mini jack connected into here that goes out to 2 mono plugs I can connect into my receivers. Then I'm going to set this to aux in mode line, go back, and then I can individually adjust channels 5 and 6. So if I go into channel 5, you can see I have lav 4 set up on there. And then if I go into channel 6, you can see I've got lav 5 set up on there. The MixPre 6 also offers this little asterisk button, which can be assigned to multiple different functions. In this setup, I've got it mapped to quick key to channels 5 and 6. So if I just click on that, you'll see how it toggles between the 2. Channel 6, channel 5 can go back and forth. All right. So in the input menu, since we're talking about all this, you've got your aux in mode. That determines what this port is. But how do I map that port to one of these channels? You'll see on default with channels 1 through 4, you just click on it, boom, there's channel 1. There's channel 2, 3, and 4. How am I going to map this to channels 5 and 6? It's pretty easy. Let's click on my little quick key I made there. Go into the menu. You can go to the second page of channel 5 here, and you'll see an option that says input. If you tap that, it lights up in green. You can use your little headphone encoder, and you scroll to select aux in 1. On this page, you'll notice there's other options. You also have these USB channels. There's USB 1, 3. Oh, that's because they're linked. So if you ever needed to run in a channel from your computer into the MixPre series, you can direct map that channel from your computer to 5 and 6 right here at this input menu. We'll talk about that a little bit when we get to USB functions. So let me go back to aux in 1 there. All right, we're going to leave it right on there. Okay, so we've got a couple of different options on this page for each channel. We've got solo, mute, arm, gain, pan, low cut. And then if we tap at the top with those 2 little dots, you get to the second page. Input type, phantom power, phase, delay. There's noise assist grayed out right there, but I'll show that in a little bit, and linking. So we received a couple of different questions from you users out there who are watching this stream. I'm going to try and cover them as we go through this example, walking you through, and then also at the end. Well, one of the questions was about this low cut option. Someone asked, does the low cut option actually affect this isolated track, or is this solely for monitoring? And the answer is it actually affects this track. So if I were to go ahead and put, say, 120 hertz low cut on channel 1 here, if I go into record, which I could do right now, that channel 1 is being recorded with the low cut. So if you want to keep your tracks completely neutral and let post handle everything in terms of editing, you're just going to want to turn that low cut off. Low cuts are most often used when you have lavs because they're close to somebody's body. You know, if you've ever experienced wiring up an actor and putting a lav on their body, maybe inside a tie or something, or under a collar of a shirt, sometimes it can get really like boomy and you got a lot of low end. You might want to use that low cut. It's kind of there to help you out. And then that can also happen with a boom mic too. We've got panning options. Another question was asked about panning. Someone who I believe was probably working in basic mode was asking, can you pan incrementally on the MixPre II series? The answer is yes. You just have to be in advanced mode. In order to pan incrementally, you just have to tap right there on the channel you wish to pan, and then you start to turn your headphone encoder wheel to the left and to the right. And you'll see it goes all the way from C for center when I'm right at 12 o'clock on this dial, all the way to L16 to be all the way left, or R16 to be all the way right. Okay. Arming. What does that mean? Arming means I want this channel to be recorded. If I have this highlighted in red, that means this channel, channel 1, will be recorded. If I tap that and it turns gray, I'm not recording this channel any longer. So, and that's just individually. So as you can see on this main meter screen, I've got channel 1 going, and you can see LR for the left-right mix are currently colored in red, and so are 2 through 6, which have nothing on them, so we wouldn't even want those. But if I hit record right now, and then if I play back in a minute, you're going to see that number 1 just go away because it's not armed to record. So if I hit stop here, and then I hit playback, boom, we had a live input at channel 1 there, and now it's gone. We're just seeing the left-right mix that I recorded. All right. So that's arming. Muting, pretty simple, just mutes the track. You know what that is. Soloing, you just listen to that solo channel. So that's a way to monitor. Does not affect the recording at all. It's just for your headphones. Muting does affect the recording. If I were to record this channel on mute, you'll see there's nothing on the meters. If it's not on the meters, you ain't getting it. All right? That's a good rule of thumb for you. Okay. Next page, we've got, like I said, input type. Input type mic, line, aux in 1 and 2, because remember this is a stereo input. And then we've got all our USB channels, USB 1, 2, 3, 4. This application, we're just using mic. We've got a mic connected. Where would you use line level? Well, like I said, if you were using wireless lavs and you were coming in via a receiver, you'd want to be going line level. And you wouldn't have phantom power enabled on something like that. We've also got delay. That's just to help out. Say if you're sending this to a stream, kind of like what we've got going on right here, you might need to turn on a little delay in order for the audio and the camera signal to reach each other at the same time. Linking. All right, this is a neat little feature a lot of people have been asking about. A lot of people have been asking about linking for stereo recordings or linking for mid-side recordings. Let me show you what we got in here. I'm just on channel 1. So just for everyone who's following along at home, you just press channel 1, and then I just went to the second page, linking, tap that. All right, there's a lot of options on this page. On default, it's turned off, meaning this isn't linked to anything. Then we've got 1, 2, 1, 2 MS, 1 through 3, tap this next page, 1 through 4, okay? Linking essentially sets the channels that you're linking together to the same gain level. The most common applications for this are going to be stereo recordings, mid-side recordings, or ambisonics recordings. So if I just hit 1, 2, this links channels 1 and 2 together. And this will change the function of these knobs. So you'll see as I turn the knob for channel 2, we've got this little L going on at the top of the screen. This is because this becomes our balance knob. Because these two channels are linked together, you have the freedom to turn the balance with the second knob and just control the fader gain with the first. Pretty nice, neat little feature. With mid-side, this controls the width of the stereo image. So you'll see as you turn to the left, it has an M up to 16, and then as you turn to the right, it has an S up to 16. And you would hear the difference too in your headphones if you had either a mid-side microphone or you were using two separate mics for a mid-side recording technique. And you'll notice too, as soon as you link two channels, the first channel becomes the controller for everything. Everything after that that's linked, it doesn't really do much. I click on channel 2 here. All right, all of my options here are phantom power and phase. And then solo this track if I want to just monitor it. Okay. So let's turn linking off because we're not using this in this application. All right. There we go. So we've got our inputs. And we've got our 6 tracks, isolated tracks for our film set. But where are these tracks going is a question. Well, on a film set, you're probably going to have to provide a feed to the camera. Sometimes you'll have to provide a feed to the director, producer via Comtext or something like that. Well, what are our options on the MixPre series? Well, on the MixPre 6 and the MixPre 3, we've got our stereo output. Now, this is going to be a fun little angle because I've got these power cables running here. I pull it a little bit. All right, we've got our stereo output hiding underneath there. Hopefully you can see it. Oh, there you go. Some proper lighting. This is where you can send signal out on the 3 and 6 models. For the MixPre 10, you have a couple more options. MixPre 10 will allow you to have 4 different output options. You've got a TA3 for left and right outputs that are separate. And then you've got an X1, X2 output. So that's essentially the same thing as our little stereo out on the 3 and 6 models. It's just labeled as X1, X2 because our left and rights have proper TA3 outputs over there. All right. So, Laura, how are we going to route these outputs? What am I going to send over to camera? Well, most of the time, you're going to be sending your left-right mix. That's pretty common. Or you might be sending a mono mix. Kind of depends. Some people I know in news often do if they're doing a sit-down interview with 2 people, they'll put one speaker on one side and one on the other, like interviewer on the left channel and interviewee on the right channel. All you'd do for that is, say I had the interviewer on the first channel, I'd pan that left. Second channel with the interviewee, pan that right. And then we'd go into this outputs menu and we'd make sure we're sending the left and the right out. So if I just go into the menu again, I go to outputs here. You can see on this page, a ton is grayed out. And if I go to the second page, here's why. Stereo out mode. Currently, this is set to something that says LTC out. This means linear timecode out because I was previously using this device to send timecode out to something. So let's just change this. If I tap that, changes to stereo out mode audio. Okay. So if I go back to the first page of outputs, we have stereo out mute, stereo out gain, and then stereo out left and right. So mute is pretty simple. That's just to kill the feed. Say you're sending to something and then you suddenly do not want to be sending that. Instead of pulling the cable, just go into this menu and hit mute. And you can also map it so that mute is this star button. Stereo out gain, that's just to match whatever you're sending to. So oftentimes, if you're sending to a camera, what someone will do is they'll turn on tone on their recorder, and then they will look at the camera's audio monitor. Usually it's just a 2-channel input, and then they'll adjust the output of the mixer to properly match, so we're getting a good level. And tone is helpful for that because it's just a level you can set, and then you just kind of match the camera to that. Some cameras have the option for you to really dial in settings and others don't. I mean, you're just kind of going for it. And that's the reason why we have like gain staging options here at the output as well. Okay, so stereo out left and right, these are our options for mapping out this channel. So if I tap here on stereo out left, you can see right now I'm sending out channels 1 and 2 on the left output. This is because I had this set up to a specific setting, but I can change anything on this page. So I can scroll with my little headphone encoder, and I can instead highlight to send the left mix. So let's say I send the left mix out of here, and I go back, stereo out right, and I send the right mix out of the right. Now if I were to, say, plug a set of headphones into here, I just hear my left-right mix, which right now is just this one channel. Okay, other output options. We mentioned USB options previously. Quite a few people have been asking, how is your MixPre used with a computer with these USB in and outputs? I don't understand the routing matrix. Well, thanks for hopping on the stream because I'll explain it to you. In this outputs menu, if you click on the top right here, you'll see there's a ton of these USB output channels. We've got USB output 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And this is on the 6 model. So you have 8 separate channels. How could that be? We only have 6 isolated channels. Well, my friend, you're not counting the left-right mix, because that's that additional 7 and 8 with the left-right mix. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 7 and 8. All right. So with these USB outputs, we've got options for every track we want to individually send out. So on this first one, you can see I've got track L, and then I go track R on USB output 2. And then on the rest of these, I have nothing sending out. This just means I'm not even feeding anything to these channels. So if I go to that first page, stereo out left and stereo out right, this is kind of a way where you can create a mix minus, if you'd like, for sending to your computer. Say if you're doing something like a podcast or a live stream. Let's say you have people on the other line on your computer, and they're talking to you through a program like Zoom or Teams or something. And you want them to hear you, but you don't want them to hear themselves. And you're wearing your headphones and monitoring through the MixPre. How are you going to tackle this? Well, these USB output options are going to help you tackle that. So let's say, just in this example, I have myself here on channel 1. And then I want to listen back to my computer on channels 3 and 4. All right, I've already got my mic hooked up to channel 1 here. I'm going to route the computer sound to channels 3 and 4. And trust me, this all comes together with these outputs. So if I go to channel 3 here, I change this input type to USB 1. And then I could even link it because stereo sound is what comes from your computer. Set that to channels 3 and 4, so these are linked together. Now, you do have to imagine I'm connected to a computer because I don't have one in front of me. But imagine this USB cable that goes off the edge of the screen is connected to a computer in some mysterious place. All right, so now on channels 3 and 4, I've got people talking to me through the computer. Channel 1, I'm talking. I plug in my headphones right here. Say I've got a pair of Sony MDR 7506s here. And I'm listening to all of us. I'm listening to my mic coming through, and I'm listening to the computer coming through on channels 3 and 4. Well, I don't want to send them their signal because we're going to get this weird loop going on. If I'm listening and then feeding their sound back to them, that's strange and going to cause problems. So we go to menu, go to outputs. We're going to use this little feature. On the stereo output options, these selections only apply to this port. They're not going to change anything about your bus. They're not going to change anything about what you're monitoring, okay? They only matter going to the actual output. So we can cheat with this. We can go on this page and say, I only want to listen or I only want them to hear me. So I only want to send channel 1 because I'm only talking on channel 1. Do the same thing with the stereo out right. I only want them to hear me. So I'm just going to set me on channel 1 right there. I'm not sending them back because remember they're on 3 and 4. So nothing about 3 and 4 is assigned here. Now we have to take this and assign it to our computer. So let's go to USB 1. What I'm going to assign on this is going to be out, L, and R. That's the difference between this track option at the top and out option at the bottom. Track is talking about the buses, talking about what you're monitoring, your left and right mix, and then all your ISOs. This output option corresponds with this port and that earlier stereo out left and right options in the menu here. So if I scroll down to this last option right here, output L, and then on USB 2, output R, this would set you up so that you hear them, you can even record them. They don't hear themselves. They only hear you. And then all the other USB outputs you can just turn off because you're not even using them at all. So, on the topic of USB routing, there's a couple of different options for people out there. For Mac users, you're going to be adjusting settings of your USB output routing through Audio MIDI Setup on your computer. You can just use the search bar and open up Audio MIDI Setup, and that will be great for you. For PC users, on default, if you're on Windows, you get a 2x2 street, so to say. So you've got 2 signals coming in and 2 signals coming out from the computer. So if you just use these first 2 USB output options, you're fine. You're just using those 2 channels. But say if you wanted to send a bunch of ISOs ISOs being isolated tracks, into like a music program like Pro Tools or Adobe Audition or Ableton, Logic, something, you would have to use the ASIO driver. So if you are on a PC and you want to do multi-track streaming over USB-C between your MixPre and your computer, go to our website, sounddevices.com, and search ASIO. And that way you can find the ASIO driver on our website, download it to your computer, and then you can use all your proper channels. All right. Okay. So, back to our film set example. What else is needed on a film set? So we talked about sending a signal out to a camera via the stereo out. That's possible. Well, a major thing involved in making films is keeping everybody in time, and that is timecode. Okay. You can see on the MixPre right now, I have timecode running right at the top left corner of the screen here. This is available in the menu. If I go to the menu, I go to the second page here, boom, timecode. All right, let's tap timecode. We've got a bunch of different modes available for us on the MixPre. If I click TC mode here, we've got free run, time of day, record run, and then we have aux in 1, aux in 2, HDMI TC, HDMI TC Fujifilm, and off. If you don't want to see those numbers scrolling and you only use the MixPre for recording, go right ahead and turn that off. Funny enough, I've actually had a call where a customer was asking what those numbers are, and I said, it doesn't really apply in your situation, so you can go ahead and turn them off. No problem. All right, but in a film set application, most of the time, the sound mixer is the master of time. This means you're setting the time code at the start of the day, and then you're jamming all of the sync boxes and the slate, and then those are going to the camera people. Most of the time when I would use a machine on set, either a MixPre or any of the other Sound Devices equipment, I would run in free run. Why? Because this gives me the option to physically set the timecode myself. So if you go back, you'll see an option here that says jam. Go into the jam menu. Oh, sorry. I don't have anything connected. Whoop. Proceed. Hold up. Just tripped up right there. I clicked the wrong thing. Set TC is what I meant. Sometimes this is hidden in a jam menu, so I got tripped up there. So set TC, this is where you would set it if you were running free run. Say if right now I knew the time was something like 11:30 and I wanted to set the time at the beginning of the day. Boom, 11:30, set that. And then if you went into this menu, you'd see 11:30 set right there. Okay. Now, if you set this time code yourself, you can always feed it out and jam a box from the MixPre. And that's all also done via this stereo out option. So where do you think we have to go to change that? The outputs menu. That's where we have to head. So if we go to outputs, second page, stereo out mode. Earlier when I first went to this menu, it said LTC. We're going to switch it back to that. So go from audio to LTC. This means we're sending linear timecode out. All right. Go back to this timecode menu. Now if I had a sync box here, I'd connect it up right there. In this jam menu, I would be able to sync the box to it, disconnect, and then go attach that to the camera or go send the slate off with somebody. All right, well, what happens if you're letting somebody else be the timecode master and you want to jam into the MixPre, right? Well, that's great. We can absolutely do that. Where do you think the signal is going to come in? There's no distinct timecode port other than this HDMI TC, which is just for sending from a camera. Where would we send in from a sync box? Right here with this aux mic in again. Okay. So how do we change that? We've got to go to the inputs because we're sending something in. Just go back to this first page, inputs, aux in mode, timecode. So we just need to make sure that that is set to timecode, then we can accept a signal in from a box. And that's how you would get that done. In this timecode menu, there's also a couple other options. If you go to this other page, you see set user bits. Really depends on where you work in the world in terms of how these are set, because I know it varies a lot from different countries and preferred setups. Some people do things where they like to even put roll numbers at the end of this or day numbers. When I came up in film, I learned to do this just by setting the date. And so you have a couple different modes. You can just do an all user mode, meaning these are all set to whatever parameters you want. Month, day, year, and then 2 user bits. This is an often used one if you're putting like a roll number at the end of it. Day, month, year, user bits, or external. That's another for jamming in user bits. So those are some options. That's really only something used in the film world, by the way, because, if you don't have a slate or sync boxes, there's not really a point in using user bits. Okay. All right. So on to record settings. So that was a little brief overview of timecode. Now, when it comes to your record settings, a lot of this is going to be controlled through 2 different menus. The project menu, which is when you're creating a new project, and the record menu. So let's say I'm just setting up, like I spoke earlier, a film set day. So day 1 on a film set, let's make a new project. I go to project. You can see the dates right there at the top. New. I have a musician's plugin installed on this device. So you can see it gives me the option of music or audio. I'm going audio project. And it asks me a question. Do you want to enter a custom name for this project or use the current date? So this is like a daily folder, right? I'm going to use a custom name because I have a keyboard and I can say Livestream. And just type that right into there. Perfect. So now we've got a new project. And you go into here and you'll see, boom, Livestream is my new project. You don't need to open it or anything. As soon as I clicked enter on that keyboard, it loaded this project. So in this menu, if we go to the second page, we have this report info. This is all about a sound report. Now, if you've never worked a day on set, you might not know about sound reports. If you're new to the film side of things and you've only done, music recordings previously or something like that, this might be all new territory for you. Well, back in the day, they used to write out paper reports. Some people still do, just detailing the facts of the day of what project you're working on. So you see in here, you've got producer, director, job, location, sound mixer, phone, email, client, boom op, the production company telephone, and comments. This is a lot of good info that may or may not be read by post when it gets sent off. But we can always hope and dream. What's great about this is if I want to edit this info, you see I've got, this little wheel that I could always, hand manually type things in if I need be. But I've also got a keyboard connected. What would make this even easier than all of that? doing it on your phone. Yes, 2023, the era of doing everything on your phone or a tablet. So we go over to this little page. I've got Wingman hooked up. What is Wingman, you might ask? Well, it's a companion app that was originally made for the 6 series devices, but we expanded it with the launch of the MixPre series. And so now you don't even need any sort of dongle or anything. You just have to make sure Bluetooth is turned on your MixPre, and boom, you can download Wingman from the Google Play Store or the App Store if you're on iOS, and you can edit things. So in here, you see I've got things named. We've got our Mix L. I can tap on that and edit that if I wanted to. Mix R, my boom mic that's sitting on the table. I can just type anything in here. I could say literally boom sitting right here on the table. I can change the names of tracks. I can go in and change the next scene that I'm going to film. So right now it says scene 1 is going to be the next thing. And then it's take 1 right there. Any notes, let's say, let's go. And then if I went ahead and recorded from this page, it's right underneath the 11 there. Wow, this take is literally recording right in front of our very eyes. The MixPre responded to my taps on this iPad. There you go. So when it comes to your sound report, let's go to this tab down at the bottom. How much easier is it to type in the name of the producer right here, just right on your iPad or phone, instead of, dialing in with each little twist of that joystick wheel there. This is pretty simple. And then the one other thing you can do with this that I think is really sweet, after you've created a report, save complete, thank you very much. I can also email it to people. So I could put someone's email address in here, create the report, boom, it's sent off right at the end of the day. There's no moving to a computer to try and send that off or type it, make adjustments, fixes. And I can speak from real life experience. Man, having this just on your phone, you can whip out your phone super quick, type in everybody's names. You could even copy and paste people's information. I mean, revolutionary. All right, so let's see what the other features are here on this app. I just tapped on that file list option down in the bottom left-hand side. This takes us to our files we have recorded on the SD card in my MixPre. So I only have this one little take that I just did just now. But if I go ahead and roll again in this project, you'll see it's scene 1, take 2 that's making right there. And it copied my notes from the previous page. Let's say I didn't want those notes to be in there. I just wanted to say, let's go on take 1. I can click on that take 2, literally go in and say, no, I didn't want that. And I could type that all out if I wanted to. I didn't want that in there. Okay, there we go. And then boom, that note is immediately added into the metadata of that file. You bring that file to your computer. The person who's doing the post mixing sees, oh, we didn't want to use that one. The sound mixer said it's bad. Let's not use that one. All right, go back to that main screen, and then this is just your meters option. You can also even arm and disarm tracks from this page. See how I just tap on those numbers there? Let's say I don't want to record the boom. I just want to record the left-right mix. That's all I got. All right. So moving along, our record settings. So we talked a bit about the project folder. Let's talk about that record menu option. Go to the menu, second page of the menu. You'll see record. Tap on this. We've got a couple options in here. Record L, R. This is talking about our left-right mix. And then we've got left and right gain here. You can see right gain is grayed out because the two are linked together. If these were unlinked, you could separately adjust each of them. Sample rate, that's a pretty popular one. Bit depth, pre-roll, record triggers, remix, and then I've got left noise assist, right noise assist, and record bells. Record bells are just the sound, the boop you hear in the headphones when you start recording and the boop boop that you hear when it ends. Pretty accurate imitation if you ask me right there. On this first page, record L and R. These are options for the buses. I click in there. Left and right linked. What if I want to record these two unlinked? If I go back, see how that's now no longer grayed out. I could totally turn up the right gain or the left gain and then have a little buffer. This would be used if you were sending sound to two separate outputs. That would most often be used in the MixPre II, where you have a left and a right TA3 output for each one of those. Sometimes people will send a hot version of the mix or a cold version of the mix, depending on where they're sending it to. Maybe you needed to send to a separate recorder as a backup, like a little buffer, and then you're also sending to a camera, and the camera doesn't need that hot of a signal. You could turn it down. That's why you'd have those separate. But let's leave that on left linked. And then you see we also have these solo options of just like left, just right, or off and linked. And again, this linking option is solely for the purpose of you having a single gain adjustment as opposed to two separate gain adjustments. So on this record L and R, if I set this to only L, and then we return to the meter screen, which you can see on Wingman actually, that actually would be pretty easy to see. L is the only one highlighted here because I've turned off the right mix. So that's a little example. I've disarmed it. Okay. I'm going to leave this on L and R linked for our example. Go back. Sample rate. Default sample rates in the film industry most of the time are going to be 48 kilohertz and then 24-bit for your bit rate. It's going to be 48 and 24 most of the time. But the MixPre II series allows you to go all the way up to 192. That's right. If you want to record some bird sounds, a lot of nature recordings, sound effects recordings that are going to be manipulated and changed later on in post-production, you can set that all the way up to 192 and get some recordings, and then you'll have some very fun sounds that kind of peek out and show up when you slow them down or say, edit them and whatnot. Those are most often used in applications like that, though sound effects recordings really popular to record at higher sample rates. Okay. Going back, we've got bit depth. Now, this is the kicker. This is like the big reason why the MixPre II series rules. 32-bit float. You've heard about it. We've talked about it. You may have seen a video or read an article. 32-bit float recording is such an advantage, especially if you're doing something where it's unexpected. You have a massive amount of dynamic range in 32-bit float recording, meaning from a whisper to a car engine, a scream, you have that much range in order to capture the performance. This is going to be used probably, again, with people recording sound effects, live applications where you don't know what's going to happen. Things haven't been scripted. There's no rehearsal. Or even music recordings. I'm seeing it more and more often that musicians are choosing to go towards 32-bit float recording so they can be manipulated, edited, adjusted to their liking later on in post-production. For film and video, most of the time, the settings here are going to be determined by the people running the production. So you want to match whatever they're asking for you to deliver. There can be some leeway and some give and take here and there. You can have a discussion, perhaps if you especially want to record in 32-bit float. But you have to make sure that whatever you're sending to someone, they're going to be able to edit and digest within their editing program. So that's a big function of working in film sets, knowing what's expected of me and how can I aim to fulfill that role. Okay. Cool. So one other thing that you should do in the morning on your film set is let's make sure we have an SD card in this thing. I wasn't even mentioning that earlier, and it just occurred to me I should probably say something about that. Right here in the back, we've got an SD card slot. In here, you can see I've got a little 64 gigabyte Sound Devices card that's just plugged right in there next to this little camera peg and this Allen wrench. These are used if you want to use the top screw to screw onto a tripod or a camera mount or something like that. And then the little peg is a stabilizer so that you can attach it really firmly to a camera. Okay, so I've got an SD card in there. Some people might be wondering, what about backup recordings? Well, on the MixPre series, we also offer the option of having a USB-A thumb drive that can connect here at the USB-A port, and you can have your recordings from the SD card automatically copy to the USB-A thumb drive right there. So there's an option for everyone who's looking to just have a recording they can pass off to production and they can leave, and that can be it at the end of the day. You can keep all your SD cards for yourself. Okay, all right, so we've gone through record settings. I guess one thing that I wanted to cover too with that is how are these files going to be digested? Because we were bringing up the topic of what's expected of me. So when I record on this MixPre, and you can see here I've got left, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, all armed. What type of a file am I going to get? Am I going to get left, right, so 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 recordings from this? And the answer is not really. You're going to get one file that has all of those channels encompassed within it. Meaning, if I hit roll right now, and then I hit stop, when I take this file to a computer, I'm going to have left, right, 1, 2, 3, 4 all break out into my DAW session. So whether that's Pro Tools or Adobe Audition, you drag that file in there, and just as long as the program can digest polyphonic wave files, it'll split out and you'll be great. If you have a program that doesn't accept polyphonic wave files, such as Ableton, because I know very well, I like to use Ableton a lot, there's two solutions for you. The first one could be using our free software, Wave Agent, which you can get at sounddevices.com to split out the files. This allows you to combine monophonic files into one singular polywave or split out polywaves into a bunch of mono files. That's a great solution. Currently, it doesn't support 32-bit float processing, so if you have 32-bit float files that you need to split out, you're most likely already going to a DAW anyway in order to edit that file. Another option you could use is something like Reaper. Audition would work for this. Pro Tools would work for this. Any DAW that can split out and accept polyphonic wave files. And then you can take those mono files into whatever program that's fighting them. Okay. All right, just checking my notes here, trying to keep on track for everything. So, with this metadata entry that I was talking about earlier with your sound report, you can also adjust your track names and your channel names. So for that, I'm going to show you two ways. If I were to click on channel 1 right here, gain is automatically selected whenever you click a channel, by the way. I'm going to tap right up here in the left-hand corner. This takes me to the track name entry. You can see I've already named this one Boom. If I were to type on my little keyboard here, I could name it Mike or something. And I could tap OK, and it would change that name for me right here on channel 1. I'm going to pan this one back center because I noticed this was panned to the left as well. All right, so that's how you would adjust a track name. That could also be done via Wingman, and that can also be done via this other menu. If I'm back on this main page, tap in the upper left-hand corner. You see all my takes right here? I can either adjust the next one on deck or a previous one. Let's adjust the next one on deck. Go to Edit, Name, Number, Notes, and Track Names. I can go in here, see how it says Mike right there. I could go ahead and change this back to Boom if I wanted to. Oh, let me go right here. I'm going to use my keyboard. I'm cheating. Oh, tap OK. And now it's changed back. So on the next take I roll, that will change into Boom. If I were to click on this, see it's already changed back to Boom. That's how you edit your track names. And then that's also how you would on set really quickly edit your upcoming take. You go to Name, Number, Notes right here. Name, this would be your scene name. I've just named this Scene 1. Number refers to the take that you're on. So right now we're on take 5 because I've rolled a few times on this stream. And again, that can be done via Wingman as well. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Couple of things. Let's talk about record triggers since we're talking about recording right now. There's a couple of people who have also asked in our pre-submitted live stream questions, how would I record with a MixPre and a camera, whether it's DSLR or a bigger camera? How am I going to send timecode from my camera to the MixPre and be able to record on both at the same time simultaneously? Let's show you how to do that. So if you go into the menu, there's a lot of menu digging in this stream, but it's important. Go to this second page over here. I'm going to go to the record menu. And then we go to the second page, record trigger. So this has to be enabled in order for me to receive any sort of record trigger. If I tap that, you'll see a couple different options in here. You've got HDMI flag, timecode. This is currently grayed out because of the timecode settings I have set up. Or HDMI flag, Fujifilm. That's for any Fujifilm cameras. If I were to tap HDMI flag here, the record trigger would come through this micro HDMI connection right here. So when you'd hit record on your camera, as long as your camera supports record triggers, you would get a flag that comes into this signal, and this would begin automatically recording. Timecode is a common way to do record triggers. If I go back, I got to change my timecode menu settings in order for this to be allowed. I'd have to go to TC mode, and I would do record run, because this record run allows me to see a signal from another camera or even another MixPre or another mixer recorder and begin to roll as soon as I see that little flag. So if I set that to record run and then I go into the record menu, we should see record trigger. Oh, timecode might not be available because of my input options. Let me change that. All right, record trigger. Oh, I can't come in via timecode. It's something in the menu. This is a live figuring out what I've set up incorrectly. Oh, go to this one. Let's see. Maybe it's because I don't have a source coming in here right now. All right, I'm going to move along on here. So, our next little thing. Oh, plugins. So, there's a couple different plugin options for the MixPre series. We've got the Musicians plugin, we've got the Ambisonics plugin, Mix Assist, and then probably our most popular, Noise Assist. So brief explanation. The Musicians plugin developed from our MixPre M series of recorders, which were aimed towards allowing musicians to use a DAW sort of format in just a compact device, meaning overdubbing tracks, reverb, adding effects, building upon a track, and just making it all there in a singular portable device. The Musicians plugin can be installed on any of these MixPre devices, including MixPre Originals, and it will turn your device into a musician's mode MixPre. The next one that I said was Ambisonics, I believe. Ambisonics plugin is for ambisonic recordings, meaning where you have a 4-capsule, I believe, microphone that can record in 3D sort of, or 360 formats. That would be used on a MixPre 6 II or a MixPre 10 II. The next one would be Mix Assist. Mix Assist is extremely helpful. It can be used in scenarios where you have, say, a panel of speakers and everybody wants to talk over each other. Mix Assist might be your friend. That allows you to not bother with mixing via these front rotary knobs and just let the software do its thing to create a mix where as soon as a person starts talking, their mic is included in the mix. If someone's silent, we dead in that channel. So let me show you. I think I have a couple installed on here. If I go to the system menu, let's see. System menu is where you'll find plugins. On the last page right here, I've got our update firmware option and plugins. So let's see which ones are installed on this machine. Show plugins. Yep, I got them all. Noise Assist, Ambisonics, Reporter plugin. That's another one. Musicians and Mix Assist. Okay. So I believe I'll see Mix Assist in this Inputs menu. In this Inputs menu, you can see I have Ambisonics up there. If I turn that on, it's going to totally reset my little settings I have going on here. So I'm not going to turn that one on right now. We'll do a separate video on ambisonics. You've probably seen our ambisonics video. You can always look that up. Mix assist right here. Currently, mix assist is off. If I were to turn this on, it'll say, you're going to reconfigure this MixPre. Do you want to do that? Continue? Okay, I want to do that. And so it's going to do a little restart. Then if I had multiple sources plugged into this MixPre and we had multiple people talking, it would prioritize the speaker. So whoever's speaking into their microphone becomes priority. That's Mix Assist. Super helpful, again, if you have a panel of people. Seen that often used in news applications where you have multiple speakers, live panel after some sort of discussion, conferences, extremely popular. Great for podcasts, too. If you have people who tend to kind of talk over one another, it can kind of help clear things up. Okay, that's Mix Assist. Noise Assist. So our most popular plugin. Noise Assist helps out with other things in the environment that you cannot get rid of. Say you're shooting in somebody's house. They won't turn off the fridge. They won't turn off the AC. What are you going to do? It's just whirring in the background. Let's use Noise Assist. So for Noise Assist, you have to go into this system menu here, second page of the system menu, right where we've got limiters, Bluetooth, and Wingman. Noise Assist right there. If I enable this, you have to assign it to a channel or a bus. This was another question that came in through our pre-Q&A for the registered users. What's up with Noise Assist? How many tracks can I apply it to? Just one track or just one bus? This is a limitation of the MixPre series. If you're familiar with our 8 series, you can buy multiple licenses and apply it to many tracks. With this, you're going to want to be strategic about it. So let's say you have 3 speakers and you want them all to be noise assisted. Well, are you just going to put it on channel 1? No way. You're going to put it on a mix of all of them because you want them all to have this noise assisting effect. I've used this in many applications. Specifically, I'm thinking about, I used it for sure in this wedding where we had a really buzzy sort of sound coming through on a mic. And there was nothing you could do about the routing or anything, but something in the background was buzzing near this mic and it just took care of it, no problem. All right. So if I want to apply it to multiple people, I would apply it on this left bus right there. And then either you could pan everyone to the left and have them all be noise assisted. You could leave them all center panned and then have a noise assisted version of the track on the left bus and a non-noise assisted version on the right bus. But you have options there. A great thing to do would be to have a wet mix and a dry mix, meaning one that has this effect on it and one that does not. That way, when you're handing this over to post-production, they have options. So that's a very common application for Noise Assist, and this is a very popular plugin. It really helps you out. I actually had a fellow call one time working in the support department. I answer the phones a lot, and he was just saying how they had to shoot at this airport, but he really noise assisted the one track and it was usable. It was for a news application where he really had no other choice. So sometimes that's just how it is. And we know working in production film, things can be sketchy. They can be iffy. You might not get a location scout. You might not know what sort of scenario you're going to be in until you're living in it. But that's kind of how it goes. Okay. All right. So let's answer some of these questions that people have sent in as well. I had a couple of different things. So someone had said, what is the Tune Crystal feature? When and how should it be used? Tune Crystal. This is interesting. This comes over on our MixPre 10.2. The Tune Crystal option is used for timecode. So you can retune your crystal right in... Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is just a 10.2 feature. You can retune your crystal. Here, you can see it on screen right there. I'm in the system menu on my MixPre 10.2. Why would you want to do this if you want to recalibrate your timecode system? connect an external timecode source via the BNCs on this MixPre II, and then you can select this Tune Crystal option. It'll see the external TC coming in. It will retune the timecode crystal inside of there. That's something that is helpful for people troubleshooting timecode questions. Okay, another question I had. Is there a way to assign the fader knobs on the front as gain trim knobs during productions with multiple ISO audio tracks? So, this brings custom mode into play. When it comes to advanced mode, you have two tiers of gain staging. You have the original preamp right in here. You have to click down on the channel you wish to adjust. And you see this gain light light up. This is our first stage of gain staging. Here is where I'm setting this level for this mic. So let's say I set this at 45 dB. Now this knob up here corresponds with our left-right mix. If I go to this main page, I turn the knob all the way to the left. You can see I still have signal here on the ISO track for channel 1. That's because I didn't adjust the ISO gain at all. I only adjusted the fader. Imagine as if this rotary knob is like one of these slider faders. You set your gain beforehand, and then the slider just comes in to help you out with your left-right mix. So you're mixing all these separate channels all the time, but they all have their own independent gains which are set beforehand. That's the job of these rotary fader knobs. So this person asks, can we reverse this? Is there a way to change this so that this rotary fader knob is the gain adjustment knob as opposed to just the fader? Kind of. What you can do is go into the menu and go to System, where we have mode that's set to advanced. Tap on that and then tap Custom. Now this is going to tell you you're setting this device in custom mode. Are you sure you want to do so? Yes, I'm sure. So I turn all these faders down because it asked me to do that to recalibrate. Okay. Switching to mode disables noise assist. We know, I understand. Say okay. It's just that you always have to reset depending what mode you're in. All right. Now we're in custom mode. I go back. I have an option that says custom setup. This is very interesting. I have all of these different parameters that I can set to either basic or advanced mode. Let's say I want everything in advanced mode except for gain. What would that do? If I go to this channel 1, you see there's no longer that gain adjustment. There's no longer that first stage in the gain staging. It's gone. Everything else is there, but that first step is gone. That means this fader is now both a fader for this channel and our gain trim. It's doing both. So if I kill this knob, I'm killing channel 1's ISO and the left-right mix level that's coming from channel 1. So there's a little trick. You can use it in that way. To totally flip the two, not possible. Hopefully that answers the question pretty concisely. Okay, let's see. I printed a couple of these out. I'm trying to be professional. Let's see. What mode should I set timecode in when I keep a timecode box connected versus when you don't have an extra one to stay connected? Options for this would be in the timecode menu. If you wanted to just keep a timecode box plugged in the whole time, you could absolutely do that. Set the TC mode to aux-in 1, and then just plug in that timecode box to aux-in 1 there, and you're good to go. If you wanted to jam a timecode into it and then disconnect the box, then set it to free run like we did earlier. Those are your best options. Someone asked, is it better to use the MixPre as a timecode master or jam it? That's definitely up to you. I would say in all my applications, working on film sets with sound devices equipment, I always set the mixer as the main timecode device. It's just the best workflow for me, and it's nice to just send those sync boxes off to other people. Okay. Ooh, all right. I think I'm just going to talk about accessories, and then we're going to kind of close it out here pretty soon. So, a couple of options. How am I going to power my MixPre device is a common question we get in support. A couple of people have asked about that on the stream. Right here, I've got it plugged into the wall, but if you're on a film set, are you really going to be plugged into the wall? Probably not. In the box that you first open, that we did at the beginning of this stream, you have a AA battery attachment that goes on the back of here. That's one option for powering, but here are some other options that will last throughout an entire day on set. One of them is our USB-C powering option. This is a Anker power battery that works very well, lives for a long time. You can use it, probably like 6 to 7 hours, depending on, the life of this battery and how much you're running off of your MixPre. I've used this in a few applications. If I just plug this into this USB-C option right here on the left-hand side, turn on the MixPre, and then I got to turn on the battery. That will power the MixPre great. You do want to make sure if you're buying an external power bank like this that it has a USB-C connection, because if it just has USB-A connections, they won't be able to fully power the MixPre, and so your MixPre is going to boot up in something called low power mode. We have a solution for that. You can buy a dual MX USB-Y cable on the Sound Devices website that has 2 USB-A connections that then go to C into your MixPre. For other powering questions or options available, if you're curious if your power bank will work, you can always look on our website, sounddevices.com. We have a whole page on powering options for the MixPre on there, or you can reach out directly to the support team. We're really good at sharing options of different powering solutions. Another option that's very common would be this MX Hirose backplate. This is a 4-pin Hirose or high-rose connection. These are very common on mixer equipment. Our 6 series uses this connection. 7 series uses this. The MixPre 10-2 uses this. So if you already have a battery distribution system that you've built into a bag previously using this connection, this is a great solution for you if you're a MixPre user. What you do, I'm just going to disconnect this all so I can give a really clear visual example, because some people get tripped up by these little contacts on the back. It's got a little lip on the end of it. You just want to make sure that these 2 gold plates align with those 2 contacts, and you pop it right into place like that. And then you just make your connection there, and you can build your bag around that. Very common option for people who have built bags previously to use that powering solution. Another one is our L-mount battery sleds. You can see right here I've got the dual sled. You can put a battery on either side of this. It doesn't go one by one. It draws from both at the same time. Any L-mount style NP battery is going to work with this. We recommend Sony's. I've seen people use Anton Bauer batteries as well. They work very well. Watson. There's a couple different brands, but if you're getting into if you see an extremely good deal on one of these batteries online, it might not be that efficient for your powering solution. So we have this sled, and then we also have a single version of this sled that fits right onto the back of the MixPre series as well. One person in the Q&A also asked, why would I use the single sled versus the 2 battery sled where you have a battery on either side here? Well, and a reason for using that would be if you really wanted to fit this into a compact bag. I've seen a couple of really compact builds, especially on Instagram. If you follow like the Sound Devices or hashtag MixPre Monday tags, you'll see people's builds, and some of their MixPre builds, they're essentially wearing a fanny pack. It's pretty small. So you might want to use a single battery instead of this dual because it could be a little heavy. Speaking of bags, here's an example of a K-Tech bag that you could use for your MixPre. Pretty compact. You got a little spot there in the front for some wireless options. There's a ton of different bags out there online. Feel free to reach out to us if you're curious about what bags would fit what device. Can't recommend it enough. I've even seen people, just wear a MixPre even on its own, using these little golf tees as sort of a little rig. So, let me see if I have anything else I need to cover here, and then we'll go ahead and close up shop. Someone asked, this is kind of a fun one, what's the most common use for that star button on the top of your MixPre 6? I would say the 2 most common uses for this are either shortcut to channel 5 and 6 as I have it set right now, or as a tone button. Really common use to just set that to be tone, to enable and disable. Turn on tone, go set your camera levels, turn off tone, or to test equipment and whatnot. On the 10 series, you actually have 2 asterisk buttons. You've got these 2 little switches. One of them's for a slate mic, and then the other one, I believe, on default is tone. Yep, tone right there. That's great little options for you. I think someone asked also about a slate mic. Just a brief explanation. Slate mic just turns on a little internal mic that's right there on the MixPre II, and that's used to slate your scenes. At the beginning of each scene, you could say, all right, scene 1A, take 1. Speed. There you go. But I believe that's pretty much all I have for you here today from the Sound Devices HQ out here in Wisconsin. If you are curious about the MixPre II series, please feel free to visit sounddevices.com. You can click on the support page, contact the support team if you'd like to ask more questions. If you're looking to get a MixPre today, they're available on our store directly or through any of our resellers. So please go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and we'll have more and more things coming out for you soon here on the Sound Devices YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning in.